Hey Noir fans, Jason here from Speakeasy Noircast. So when Carly and I started looking for solutions for our podcast, we discovered there were way too many options available. We almost gave up looking for the right fit and came close to forking over a bunch of money for one size fits all type of solution. Then I stumbled upon Anchor FM. Not only is this amazing service free, but we can record and edit our podcast directly from Anchor FM or even on our phone when we're on the go. That alone saves us a ton of money and time. But there are several other major benefits to using Anchor FM that makes it the perfect fit for us. Anchor has a built-in solution for distributing our podcast to all the major outlets, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just about anything else you can think of. You no longer have to submit your RSS feed to every single service in existence just to get your episode to your fans. And talking about money again, like I said, Anchor is absolutely free. And Anchor FM will even help you to make some cold hard cash right from the very beginning. Anchor FM has a unique advertising platform that doesn't require a minimum listenership. So right out the gate, you can start making some money. So let's put it in perspective. Anchor FM is free, everything you need to make a podcast in one place, instant distribution, and they'll help you make some money right from the start. So if you've been struggling to find the perfect platform for your podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. After you finish this episode, of course.
In 1996, Chris Carter followed up The X-Files with the darker, arguably more sophisticated series, Millennium. Fans yearning for Frank Black's heroic return can revisit past nightmares and see glimpses of a hopeful future in the new feature-length documentary, Millennium After the Millennium. Villain Media affirms the documentary establishes how relevant the former Fox series still is to society. UK Film Review says Jason D. Morris creates an enthralling documentary. Screen Critics calls it an absolute must-see, featuring new interviews from Lance Henriksen, Chris Carter, Frank Spotnitz, and many more. Millennium After the Millennium is available now at thetimeisnowmm.com. This is who we are.
We're going to have a Kentucky Mule for our drink of the week.
Oh, that sounds disgusting.
It does, you know. I've never been a huge... Okay, so a mule is typically a Moscow Mule. And it was a drink that was invented in the 40s from a famous bar owner that owned the Cock and Bull, which was British, by the way.
That is such a British name, Cock and Bull.
So it was an LA pub called Cock and Bull. It was Jack Morgan. And he, I guess, bought more vodka and ginger beer, I guess, than most of other pubs or, you know, whatever.
Cold lad.
Yeah, decided to use it and create a drink, and it really took off. And I guess all the Hollywood A-listers would go to this bar, and that's kind of how it sort of spread and became a huge sort of sensation in the 40s and whatnot, and has continued on even today. Even more interesting, what I found even more interesting was the reason why a Moscow Mule was always served in a copper cup is because his girlfriend at the time, I guess, owned a distribution factory or made them or something like that, and it wasn't doing well, and she had a surplus of copper cups, so he decided to incorporate that into like the recipe, so to speak.
Oh, what a stand-up guy.
Yeah, which, I mean, it must have taken off after that. Like, she must have done very well because the drink itself went very well, and everybody thinks that it's supposed to be served in a copper cup for a reason. And they make up a reason, like it keeps it, you know, the drink cooler if you're in a hotter climate, which is true. The copper does. It gets very cold. I actually don't like using a copper cup because it makes my hands super cold.
No, my hands are too cold. Just drink the drink faster.
Yeah, it's almost like, it feels like liquid nitrogen when you're holding it. It's so cold. But I guess it might work if you're like in the Miami heat or I guess California heat, but it doesn't, you know.
We'd all end up with pneumonia if we were doing it over here.
Right. But also equally as common as just serving it in a highball glass. And it's a simple sort of drink, but that's not the one that we're going to be doing. We're doing a Kentucky Mule, which is a variation. over the years, there's been many variations depending on, the type of alcohol that you use. You could call it a Mexican mule if you're using tequila, or a Jamaican mule if you're using rum. We're doing a Kentucky mule, all right? And a Kentucky mule is a little bit different in that you would use bourbon as a primary ingredient. And it depends on your taste. Like the original recipe is ginger beer, which I don't particularly like ginger beer. I think it's just got too much bite.
I like ginger beer.
Do you? Yeah, my wife likes ginger beer as well. But also commonly substituted for the ginger beer would be ginger ale, which makes a bit of a sweeter drink. And that's what I prefer. But I'll give you the original recipe, and then you can sub out the ginger beer if you're not really up on that and prefer the ginger ale. All right, so it's basically 2 ounces of your favorite bourbon. They suggest Jim Beam, Maker's Mark, or Bullet bourbon. I prefer Bullet myself. Chilled ginger beer, juice of 1 fresh lime, mint sprigs, which I don't know what mint sprigs are. I'm assuming like the leaf.
Yeah, is that like a couple of the leaves dropped in? Or?
Yeah, I'm assuming so, because that's how I see most drinks prepared, is just, the mint leaf. They crush it or, break it to release it, and ice cubes. And how you make the drink is you get your copper cup or a highball glass, if you're a wimp and don't like, your hands freezing cold.
Or you're in the UK and you're afraid you'll freeze to death.
Or, yeah, if you're already freezing. You pour your 2 ounces of bourbon in, then you add your lime, which is 1 fresh lime, so a full-on lime, apparently.
A full-on lime?
That's what it is, yeah.
A whole lime?
Yeah, well, you don't put the whole lime in, you just squeeze the juice from it. So whatever.
Oh, I thought we were like chopping up a whole lime and shoving that in there.
No, just the juice, so I imagine that might make 1/4 ounce of juice,
wow.
Or maybe half, I'm not really sure. Whatever a whole lime. You squeeze that in. You add your ice cubes, and then you add your ginger beer on top. And then you would tear and rub your mint sprigs. And I don't know if that means you rub the mint sprigs together or you rub them on the glass or what that exactly means. It doesn't specify.
Freestyle.
Yeah, so your choice. If you want to do some leaf rubbing
or
some glass rubbing, it's up to you. I'd probably just break them and put them into the glass and then just stir it lightly and enjoy.
That is the worst point for somebody to tune into this podcast by accident, isn't it?
Maybe.
Get yourself a bit of leaf rubbing.
This is the Speakeasy Leaf Rubbing Society. So there you go, guys. Enjoy your Kentucky Mule. All right, Carly, so today we're going to be talking about a movie I didn't think I was going to like.
That's interesting because I also didn't expect to like it.
And I'm a big fan of Edward Robinson, or Edward G. Robinson, as people like to use his middle initial, or he does. I'm not really sure. But Edward G. Robinson, I think, is an amazing actor. And I just read the synopsis, I was kind of lukewarm on it. Wasn't excited. I didn't do a lot of pre-research on it until after I watched the movie. But why don't... No, let's not do that yet because we need to do the trailer. So the movie that we're going to talk about is called Bullets or Ballots from 1936.
Police start cleanup. Citywide raids ordered. Loan sharks routed. 42 sidewalk bankers jailed. The producers of G-Man and Special Agent. Raid the headlines for another dramatic scoop. Bullets or Ballots? A Sensation Street story of a New York detective who smashed $1 billion crime syndicate.
Johnny, you better give Vinci's loan sharks a once-over.
Okay.
He won't give my outfit the once-over. Keep him away from it.
What are you afraid of?
I don't like the way your face is fastened on.
Well, I'll be down tomorrow morning, give you a chance to change it.
You're not running liquor anymore. You're in big business. I pulled you up out of the gutter. And you take a chance on ruining a $200 million gold mine to satisfy a grudge. Well, it's a fine way to pay me back for all I've done for you.
Oh, I wouldn't pay you back that way, Al.
Well, I hear they cut the big shot detective down to size. Must be tough not being able to kick the boys around anymore, making them tip their hat to you.
But they still do.
To a Bronx flatfoot.
Little Caesar takes over. Edward G. Robinson rules the underworld again. As Gangdom makes its last doomed stand.
Fenner is Kruger's #1 man. If anything happens to Kruger, and I'm going to see that it does, Fenner moves up. But I'm not going to let him because I'm going to step into Mr. Fenner's shoes. You started this racket. You ought to have a share in it.
I suppose Mr. Blake will let me have it.
You'll have nothing to say about it. I'm running things from now on. If you want the Bronx and Harlem districts, they're yours. If you need protection, you'll get it. You don't trust me.
I don't trust anybody.
I've never seen it fail. Whenever mugs get into a scrap, the first thing they do is they start knighting each other. Say, I thought you were smart, Al.
Keep on talking.
Finally got wise to you. You're through. Oh, no, I'm just starting.
Copper.
Bullets or Ballots? The final chapter in the war on crime. Revealed by Martin Mooney, the reporter who wouldn't talk. Edward G. Robinson tops the thrills of all his past hits. With Joan Blondell as the girl who had a racket all her own. Barton McLean, Humphrey Bogart, and Frank McHugh in Bullets or Ballots. Directed by William Guiley, who made G-Men. Another screen shock from Warner Brothers.
So, Carly, why don't you give us your famous rundown of Bullets or Ballots?
Okay, I have multiple confessions to make at various points. The first confession, we definitely need a noise for it.
Okay.
I'm disappointed with my famous synopsis on this one. I feel like it's just a synopsis. It's not famous. There's nothing famous about it.
Yeah, no specialness to this one.
No.
That is disappointing.
I know. Well, I thought I'd just set you up for disappointment,
Yeah,
and then
and
if
here
it
we-
happens to be okay, it's like, yay.
Yeah, I mean, we rehired you back on after firing you last week. And here
Because
you
nobody
are.
else showed up for the position.
Shh. You're not supposed to say that. We got thousands of phone calls.
Millions.
But we kept you on because of the famous synopsis, and we thought we couldn't lose that, and here we are losing it.
Yep, already gone. Sailed away in the wind.
Well, give it your best, worst shot.
Okay. My lukewarm synopsis is
Lukewarm.
Humphrey Bogart is a badass.
Hold on a second. We're starting this out with Humphrey Bogart, who doesn't even star in the movie.
He does star in the movie.
He's in the movie. He doesn't star in the movie.
Okay, well, can I get to
on.
my synopsis,
He's even
please?
listed as the 4th on the list
Can
of
I
actors.
get to my synopsis, please? without interruption, just because I said it was lukewarm.
And I didn't even know he was in the movie when I went to sit down and watch it. I was super surprised
That's
when he
because
popped in on
you're
screen.
not a fan. Can I get back to it then?
Yeah, start over though.
Okay, so, synopsis in a nutshell. Humphrey Bogart is a badass whose badassery is only matched by the world's most obvious and slightly tiny undercover cop.
Slightly tiny.
I was taken aback by his height,
Oh my gosh.
especially because he was able to knock everybody out, but he kind of was leaping up. It was great.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Very true.
I would not fuck with Edward G. Robinson.
Neither would I. He's ferocious.
Yeah. Man. You know, that wasn't a terrible synopsis except for commenting on his height. That was pretty low, Carly. Pretty low. You know,
God,
a
you're
guy
taking
can
your funny
clean up-
pills.
They can clean up their appearance. They can buy a new suit, some fancy shoes, but you know, you can't change your height unless you get those platform things, which look funny anyway. So that was a pretty low ball, you sexist woman.
I said I was taken aback by his height, but then potentially impressed by it as well.
impressed by his punches.
Yeah.
No, he's a tough guy, you know. He's. I mean, I've always been impressed with him. I always think he's been a great actor.
He really reminded me of an English actor called Jamie Foreman.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
You need to seek him out because his acting style is quite similar.
Okay, I'll look it up. I got to add it to my list. Dad's Army and a few other things. So Bullets or Ballots, 1936 film. It was directed by William. Oh boy, here we go. Keeley?
What?
Keeley? I don't know. William Keeley, I'm going to say.
Oh God.
As you all know by now, I am horrible with pronunciations of names and drinks.
And words.
and words. Yeah. Okay. The movie stars Edward G. Robinson, who we're gushing over for the moment, except for his height, Joan Blondell, Barton McLean, and Humphrey Bogart, who, as I said, I was very surprised to see. I had no idea he was in this movie. And Robinson's character, since we were speaking of his tough guy sort of demeanor in this film, was based on a real person. His Johnny Blake character was based on Johnny Broderick, who was a fairly famous New York City detective, who had a long career, won lots of medals, and was a noted tough guy who didn't mind beating the crap out of gangsters. And there was a lot of, he was up against a lot of issues with excessive force and things like that, but it's well documented of him actually beating the crap out of several of these tough guy racketeer gangster guys. And I thought Robinson did a great job portraying that. I mean, they didn't really go into much of his history. It's just sort of hinted at, but yeah, I thought he did a good job. Maybe this could have been earlier in Johnny's career.
I liked it. I again was surprised because I didn't expect Humphrey Bogart to be in it.
I didn't either. I didn't know.
And I saw it for a second. When he popped up, I thought, am I watching the right film here? Have I got the right film on in front of me?
Yeah, I wonder if this is like, because Humphrey Bogart he wasn't really super famous right at this point. I mean, he obviously
quite an early one, isn't it?
Yeah, he didn't, because he doesn't star. He co-stars. You know, he's just sort of that bad guy thug co-star. But I was surprised to see him. And I honestly, I don't like seeing Bogart as the bad guy. I do. I don't. It really irritated me. I don't know. You know, conflict is different because it's more of a, I don't know what you would call that. Just more of an everyday person sort of bad guy than it is like a gangster bad guy, because gangster bad guys can be pretty vicious and mean. You know, I mean, not that he was a good guy in Conflict, but
I suppose that was like a situational bad guy, whereas in this one, he's just horrible. Yeah. This is more of like, you know, like LA Noir, or LA Confidential, where they're climbing the ladder, or they're, you know, doing things for themselves. It's too narcissistic and too for themselves. It just, you know, I don't know. It irritates me. And then, yeah, I don't like seeing them in those characters, as those characters. I don't know. I quite liked it, but I like Humphrey Bogart as a bad guy, so. You prefer him as a bad guy, or? Yeah. Wow, interesting.
Huh. All right. During my research of this movie, I thought it was interesting, and I couldn't figure out why. I could not find out why. But William Kiley, or however you pronounce his last name, was initially the director of The Adventures of Robin Hood, which was a very big deal at the time. It was the first, like, I guess, color picture and for Warner Brothers, and it was a big movie, right? And he was replaced by Michael Curtis, who directed Mildred Pierce, and I think Casablanca. Casablanca. Am I right on that? I'd have to look it up again. But anyway, he definitely directed Mildred Pierce. But I thought that was pretty interesting that he got removed, and I couldn't figure out why. Couldn't find the information on that. So if any of our listeners know why, please let us know, because I want to know.
Is the Robin Hood one the one with Errol Flynn?
Yes. Yes.
I like him.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I thought that was, I don't know why. I just thought that was interesting. Just happened to come across it. Because I thought this movie was so well directed. And for such a big picture like that, he must have done something wrong, or I don't know. Couldn't figure out what it was. And to be replaced by a big, well-known director of the time.
Well, you know what it was like at the studios at the time. If you didn't say are you to the right person, you're out on your ass.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, I guess this movie is, I know that there's, his character is based on a real person. And I wonder how current event it was at the time. Like, were these sort of racketeering stuff going on high up into society, like in this movie, with the bankers sort of driving the ball there and stealing, utilizing the gangsters and whatnot. I wonder if that was a current event thing of the time or whatnot.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? But you must think it must have been, because it must have had some spark of truth in it.
Yeah, at least like a rumor mill or something, or like the societal sort of like suspicion of it must have been a thing, because this isn't a complicated movie, but if you really delve deep into like all the business, quote unquote, things that these guys are into and how they're making their money, that stuff can get pretty complicated. And I was happy that they didn't really delve into that too much, because I think that would have sort of ruined the movie, in my opinion.
I like the little film at the beginning in the theatre, kind of explaining it all.
Yeah, I thought that was well done as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was good that they did that. And I thought it was interesting that, Bogart's character and the other guy kind of sit down and was like, hey, look at what this guy's doing. We got to stop him. And the other guy's just like, what are you talking about? Leave it alone. And it set those dynamics up early on very well.
Yeah, because I liked that, was it Al? He was the bad guy, but he was almost still keeping the peace. So he was bad, but he wasn't evil. Right. Whereas Bogart was just evil.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I didn't like Bogart. Al Kruger was a businessman.
Yeah.
Just like the banker. And that's the reason why the bankers can work with him, because he wasn't hot-headed. He didn't do things out of emotion like Bogart did, his character, which was Fenner. So he was able to know his place and facilitate things. And that's the reason why Fenner was never going to get that job. No matter how hard he tried, they just wouldn't have done it. It would have been ridiculous. And if he did get it, he wouldn't have lasted long. He did things his way, and that's not how things work. Unless you're powerful enough to completely squash everybody and take over, which the only person that was Johnny Blake, And as we find out, he's working on, he's working with the police to do this, to take down this ring. And, his dogged detective skills and his perception are really what do it. This guy remembers everything. He sees everything. And when you think he's going down, he's still like, even Bogart couldn't take him down. And I'm like, when he comes out of that room, I'm like, oh crap, like he's not going to make it. What's going to happen? And this guy, even though he's shot like twice, he's like, nope, I got to get this done.
Yeah, I'm still going to my meeting.
Yep. Nobody needs to know. That's how committed this guy was to, he knew what his life goal was.
I didn't expect him to die at the end.
I didn't either. I was pretty sad.
I was really shocked. And I thought that was horrible in the car when she finally realizes that he's not awful. And she's like, oh, I'll wait for you.
Yeah. And, the thing is that we're set up pretty early with their relationship that they're never going to be a thing, no matter what, even though they like each other. And that's pretty obvious. His life is his life and hers is hers. And those two don't intersect other than by chance. And, he just doesn't have that ability to have that sort of domestic home life. He's too dedicated to his job and what he does. And I think that fed very well into that plot point of, him getting fired and still working with the cops kind of thing. Nobody would believe that, because when somebody is so in tune with their job and know who they are and what they're doing, and as dedicated as Johnny Blake was, they wouldn't expect him to do anything other than be angry and upset that he devoted himself to it, and then to be let go like that. And I think that's the only reason why Kruger would have approached him to come onto his team.
Yeah, it was quite good in the sense that he had a really good get out clause, because if they ever started suspecting him, he'd just be like, hey, you come to me, mate.
Right.
I didn't come to you begging for a job. You came to me.
Right. So, hey, Carly, let's take a break real quick and talk to our listeners about our sponsors. All right, guys, we're back and we're going to keep talking about this film. And, I wanted to talk about like the femme fatale sort of, classic noir sort of tropes. Like what I've been noticing a lot is they're always sort of, not always, but a lot of these films they utilize them completely differently. Like, I think we usually think of the trope as like the private detective and the femme fatale shows up, at your office and, gets them caught up in some sort of like case. But it's not that way in a lot of these films. It's usually just the two can't be together for some reason. Really seems to be the way, that this is, whether it's like she's bad or he's bad, or, it just doesn't work in their two different societal, systems that they live in or whatever it might be. And I think that seems to be, sort of a misguided sort of trope of film noir so far that I'm seeing, that the femme fatale is usually associated strictly with the woman who talks the guy in by using her sex and whatnot, and then screws him over sort of thing. But it doesn't seem to really always be that way.
I like the relationship in this one because she was very on her own. She was very standalone, and there was no lovey-dovey nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very adult. It was two people who knew their place. They knew what was happening. They wished it could be different, but they know themselves well enough that, yeah, it's just not, and that sucks. But I've got to do what we got to do.
And I think that's what made it more tragic at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think she actually started to think, maybe I can change my lifestyle to adapt to his.
Right.
Never got the chance.
No, something was going to stop it. Yeah.
Bloody Bogart.
That bastard.
Shooting people and then making them go meetings.
Yeah, and his name is Bugs Fenner, Nick Bugs Fenner, and he was a bug in this movie, man. That guy just crawled in and destroyed everything. He destroyed his own organization that he worked for.
He did, yeah. He completely destroyed it from the inside out.
Yeah.
Trying to take over it.
And I wondered, the title, Bullets or Ballots, if that really because this isn't revolving around any elections or things like that.
I got confused about that a little bit as well.
Right. There's definitely political aspects to it with, the police chief and the commissioner, and them wanting them to solve the murder of, the newspaper reporter. Yeah. Can't think of his name, but yeah. And wanting to solve that fast and not being happy even when they're taking down all of these organized crime vehicles, so to speak. So there's some politics, involved in this. And I guess that might be sort of where the Ballots part of the title comes in. But I was expecting it to have some sort of stronger political arc in there. But I guess this sort of makes sense because it's people moving up in their positions, I guess, in ways, and they're, maybe that's sort of what the title means. They're using bullets in order to move up, and not necessarily, people voting them into position, I guess, in a way. I'm not really sure I'm reaching here, but
I wonder if it's more kind of like you can either, like a path you can choose. You can either choose like Fenner's shoot first, ask questions later, or you can choose the longer game, the kind of the deals, the negotiation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. Very well could be. What did you think of Joan Blondell? Joan, yeah. Lee Morey.
I liked her a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah. I can't say I've seen much with her in, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't recall the name personally. I thought she was good.
Yeah, I thought she was really good. I did like her a lot.
She was one of the characters like you were talking about last week with LA Confidential and Kim Basinger. I felt like she came in, and because of, she was a plot device that wasn't in it enough and didn't have enough to do.
Mm-hmm.
She was utilized just to move the plot along, which makes sense. And I enjoyed that. And I thought it worked pretty well. But I did view this after our last conversation with LA Confidential. I viewed this movie in a very similar light in terms of the structure and the type of film it is, involving the newspaper and involving the police. Not really corruption within the police, but that subbed for the corruption of the banks, which honestly, I think in the past 10 years in American history, it makes this movie pretty valid in a different sort of way. Yeah, I thought there was a lot of interesting similarities with LA Confidential.
Well, that's interesting. Yes, I see where you're coming from with that. I didn't think about that avenue myself, to be honest. But now you've mentioned it, yeah.
All right, Carly. Are we going to rate this movie?
I think we can.
Yeah?
Can I just share my favourite quote of the film?
No.
Well, I'm going to anyway.
No, you ruined that already. You don't have any more rights here.
Aww.
Of course. What's your favorite quote of the film? I want to hear
Hello, stool pigeon.
Okay. Who said that one? I don't recall that.
I can't remember, but I very much enjoyed it. Hello, stool pigeon.
That's pretty funny.
Because I thought, what is a stool pigeon?
I think it's like the people that are just sitting on the brownstone steps or whatever, or any sort of steps, like pigeons are just gathered around, or I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, completely wrong. Maybe it's like a reference to somebody who is sort of like a yes man, will just do whatever.
That really makes more sense.
Maybe. Depends on who they said it to, I guess. I'm not sure. That's funny though.
I liked it. I like when a piece of dialogue takes me by surprise and makes me spit coffee out. And that happened. So
yeah, there was definitely a few quips in it that I thought were pretty funny. I didn't write them down though, unfortunately, so I couldn't repeat them. But I recall that there was a couple, particularly from Lee Morgan, Joan Blondell's character, that I thought were pretty funny. And I think they were a reference towards Bogart I think particularly one scene where he kisses her after she sort of agrees to go into leagues with him, but not that kind of league. And she like slaps him and says something like, "I meant the numbers." And then I can't remember exactly what their dialogue was, but that was pretty funny. Because she just sort of lets it happen and like puts him in his place.
Yeah, she was very sharp, wasn't she?
Yeah. You thought you could take what you wanted, but no, sort of thing.
Yeah,
that was funny. But okay, so what's your rating in this movie, Carly?
It's gonna be an 8.
An 8? All right, cool. 8 gens out of 10. Like, okay. I'm gonna give this one a 7.
Oh.
Yeah. And again, I sort of put this in league with The Big Steal, as to where I thought it was really competent, well-made movie. I love the actors in it. I think that the acting in this is probably better than The Big Steal, particularly Robinson opposed to Mitchum.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't break any ground for me in terms of style or story that I'm aware of. Like I felt like it was just a well-made, competent movie. It's something I would probably watch again. But yeah, that's about all.
Yeah. Well, I'm a sucker for a good cop and robber film. And with a couple of added bonuses that I very much enjoyed the actor that I've not really watched a lot of before. Mm-hmm. Bogart was in there. An 8.
Yeah, cool. All right. It's definitely worthy of that. I don't give it extra points for Bogart, honestly, just because I don't like seeing him as a bad guy. Maybe that's, my own personal issues, but yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's because I've seen more of his good guy films, and so it sort of taints it for me. But I don't know. Not sure.
We will find out as we continue our journey.
We will. Maybe there's a bad guy Bogart movie out there that I would just love.
Maybe that's the challenge. Maybe we've just discovered.
Could be.
The overall challenge.
Could be. All right, there you have it, folks. We got 8 out of 10 gens and 7 out of 10 gens. Tell us what you think. We would love to hear your guys' take on Bullets or Ballots. Maybe even know the full reasoning behind the title. Maybe we're missing something there. Give us a call at 818-643-1441 or find us on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Tell us what you think of this film, or suggest a new film, or, apply for Carly's job. There's an opening.
After I found out as well what I was going to put in your Twitter bio to make you more appealing to people.
You're hurting me now.
Are you ready? It's really good.
I'm ready.
Jason Morris puts the twit in Twitter.
Shit. All right. We're bringing the twit back.
Top up.
I guess you're not fired.
No. Get me job for another 2 weeks.
All right, folks. Join us for episode 9 in another week. And give us a call. Let us know what you guys are doing. If you like the podcast, make sure you subscribe. Leave us some feedback. Rate the show on iTunes. And tell your friends, anybody that you know that likes film noir and wants to hear us chatter about it. Let them know about the show. All right. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
He's looking at you, kid.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Speakeasy Noircast. Make sure to visit our website, resurrectionfilms.net, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, The Dark Side of Acting Up, available now on Amazon, or you can check out one of our films available on Amazon Prime.
My throat just started going right at the end of that then. can't clear my throat because it's going to make too much of a noise.